Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Priyanka Sharma and I welcome you all to Mission Sustainability Population versus Planet, our crucial conclave. WION World is one in partnership with the Mobius Foundation and has now launched this aspect of what we hope will continue in the future as well. The sustainability campaign, we started this in February last year. Our mission, you ask? To spread awareness about the importance of population stabilization. Over the course of the last 1 year, we have investigated the correlation between overpopulation and other aspects and how it relates to something that affects all of us, something that we at WION have reported on extensively, the consequences of climate change, global warming, and its impact on you, me, our children, our future. Food shortages, and something that we see making headlines daily, pollution. It affects all of us. Now, without further ado, let me take this opportunity to take a look at the highlights of this campaign.
There are almost 7.9 billion people on the planet today. According to the United Nations predictions, the world's population can reach 9.7 billion people by 2050 and over 11 billion by 2100. We are exceeding the Earth's carrying capacity due to our unsustainable consumption habits. The planet is reeling under the impact of air, water, and land pollution, and we are depleting our natural resources, which impact the biodiversity of the natural world. Rising unemployment, deepening poverty, hunger, and undernourishment are all linked to unsustainable population growth.
The population of India during independence was 350 million. Today it's 1.3 billion, and that's 4 times. Land hasn't increased, the water hasn't increased, but there are 4 times as many people to inhabit the same area.
But things are changing rapidly. Countries around the world, including India, are beginning to address the problems by implementing modern solutions. Mass mobilization and awareness campaigns are the need of the hour. Mobius Foundation, in partnership with WION, launched a year-long campaign called Mission Sustainability: Population versus Planet. The campaign started with a bang with an impactful virtual conclave that featured policymakers, social workers, environmentalists, and academia. Stakeholders deliberated on critical issues that are arising from overpopulation. The conclave was followed up by a hard-hitting documentary series, a deep dive into 10 of the most pressing issues of our time. Broadcast on various channels of C Media, the campaign reached 4 corners of the planet. Launched with a 360-degree approach. It played across all media such as television, digital, radio, and print. Today, the first season comes to a close with the Mission Sustainability Population versus Planet Conclave. So let's look back at our learnings from the campaign and discuss the way forward for creating a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable world.
Let me now take you back to the decade of the 1980s, ladies and gentlemen. In the state of Rajasthan, the traditional system of dam construction got revived. And as we all know, as a result, the villagers got access to crucial supply of water. The landscape and climate transformed. The long dead rivers began to flow again. The wells became full and the once parched fields became fertile yet again. Sounds like a fragment of my imagination, right? Well, I have to tell you that this is in fact the reality, and the amazing activist who made this reality is none other than Mr. Rajendra Singh. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome on stage the waterman of India.
ये सब आंकड़े सुन के ज़रा मन खराब होता है, लेकिन डरने से काम नहीं चलता। इन सब आंकड़ों का ठीक से मुकाबला करने के लिए हमें संभालने की ज़रूरत है, और ये संभालने का ज्ञान जो भारतीय ज्ञान तंत्र है, जिसको इंडिजिनस नॉलेज सिस्टम और इंडियन विजडम कहते हैं, उसमें था। तब तक लोग इस पॉपुलेशन को इतनी तेज़ी से नहीं बढ़ा रहे थे। ये जो मॉडर्न एजुकेशन सिस्टम है, मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी और इंजीनियरिंग है, और ये जो कैलकुलेटर बेस्ड साइंस है, सेंसलेस साइंस, इसके आने से हम लोगों को ये जो प्रोडक्शन है, इस प्रोडक्शन का उन्माद लगा है। वो ह्यूमन प्रोडक्शन हो, वो इंडस्ट्री में प्रोडक्शन हो, वो इकोनॉमिक लीडर बनने का जज्बा हो। ये जो ग्लोबल इकोनॉमिक प्रॉफिट कंपटीशन के लीडर बनने की चाह है, उसने प्रकृति की को देखे बिना जो उत्पादन बढ़ाया है, उसका परिणाम है कि हमारे देश में 72% अंडरग्राउंड एक्यूफर ओवरड्राफ्ट हो गए हैं। ये जो हमारा फास्ट फ्लो लाइफ स्टाइल है, उसमें तो ये जो पॉपुलेशन की ग्रोथ है, रोकना संभव नहीं है। यदि आप रोकना चाहते हैं तो ह्यूमन फ्लो को स्लो करना पड़ेगा। ये जो हमारे लाइफ स्टाइल में सब चीज़ें जल्दी से लेने की हैं, वो हमारे ऐसे उत्पादन करते हैं जो प्रकृति में बिगाड़ करता है। दोस्तों, वो उत्पादन कुछ भी हो, वो केवल ह्यूमन काइंड नहीं, और भी तरह के जो उत्पादन हैं जो सेंसलेस साइंस से होते हैं, जिनके फ्लो बहुत फास्ट होते हैं, वो फास्ट फ्लो वाले प्रोडक्शन हमेशा एंटी नेचर होते हैं। जब हमें बुखार चढ़ता है तो हम पैरासीटामोल लेते हैं और पानी की पट्टी रखते हैं सिर पे और कमरे में जाके आराम करते हैं। इस वक्त भारत की धरती को बुखार चढ़ गया है और मौसम का मिजाज बिगड़ गया है, और इस बिगड़ते हुए मौसम के मिजाज में ह्यूमन हेल्थ, नेचर हेल्थ दोनों बिगड़ रही हैं। दोस्तों, मैं अंत में बस इतना ही आपको बताना चाहता हूँ कि यदि हमें पॉपुलेशन को ठीक करना है तो हमारी लाइफ में नेचर के साथ जो हमारे रिश्ते हैं, उनमें थोड़ा संयम, थोड़ा स्नेह, थोड़ा सम्मान बनाना पड़ेगा। जब हम प्रकृति के साथ प्यार और सम्मान करना सीखेंगे तो जो प्रकृति का ज्ञान है वो हमें एहसास कराएगा कि हमें क्या करना, क्या नहीं करना। धन्यवाद।
Now today, as I've been saying, we've gathered here to celebrate the culmination of this year-long campaign that we at WION are very proud of. And it is now time to move towards our first panel discussion to raise some crucial questions and to understand India's roadmap with some of India's key policymakers, of course. And I would now like to invite my colleague Molly Gambhir to take forward this discussion and also the panelists for our first session.
Increasing population, rapid urbanization, and rising pollution. India is the fastest growing major economy in the world. That's great news, but with it come a fair share of challenges. A lack of jobs in rural areas, cities bursting at the seams, worrisome air quality index, lackluster waste solutions. India still has a long way to go before becoming a truly sustainable nation. Are India's policies taking the country in the right direction? In this session, we bring together policymakers and thought leaders to discuss the country's roadmap to sustainability.
India is home to 17% of the world's population. That's just a sample of the challenges that we are dealing with. India's large population, of course, has given birth to multiple challenges over the years. We are talking about access to clean air, clean water. These are basic problems that many cities in our country are grappling with. There's also unsustainable migration patterns, which has only added to this increasing load and pushing our country's cities to their limits. And this has resulted in a demand-supply gap when it comes to housing, when it comes to employment. And during today's session, we hope to touch upon some of these challenges and the hurdles that lie ahead for India's journey towards sustainability. I'm Molly Gambhir, and it's my absolute pleasure to now invite on stage our panelists for this session. Poonam Otreja, Executive Director, Mobius Foundation of India. Anumita Roy Chaudhary, Executive Director, Research and Advocacy Center for Science and Environment. Dr. Ram Buj, CEO, Mobius Foundation. Dr. Buj, if I could start with you. Like the rest of the world, India's population growth rate has been on the declining slope over the last few years. Several factors responsible: poverty alleviation, access to education, along with several other challenges that our country is dealing with. What more needs to be done to stabilize India's population?
Yes, as per the National Family and Health Survey, which was released last year, that's 5th survey, we have almost reached the total fertility rate 2. 2.1 is the ideal, but we are below that. And that too, for the urban areas, it's 1.6, rural it's 2.1. So on an average, we have reached the population stabilization level. But there are many other factors, because population, in a way, is going to take a few more years, maybe a decade, to fully stabilize, to become sustainable. When we take care of our resources, or when we consider population versus the planet, which is the theme of our campaign. It is population momentum which is pushing the population rise. So a lot of things have to be done on this front to make the population stabilized, to reduce the ecological footprint of the humanity, and also to bring, as per the Sustainable Development Goals, I think the development must reach to everyone. No one should be left behind.
Talking about how no one should be left behind, Ms. Mutreja, if I can come to you, India's total fertility rate has come down from 2.20 to 2.0. It's a marginal difference, but a very significant one. And we're talking about just the last 5 years, but states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, they continue to lag behind. What is the reason for this, and what, according to you, is the way out?
There is the strongest link between education and incomes and women's empowerment and access to services. So all these indicators are much poorer in the 3 states and a couple of other states. Where you have better governance, you have better family planning services or health services. Where you have educated girls, girls who have 10-year education are likely to have 2 or less than 2 children. Girls who do not have education or have less education are likely to have 3 and more. Third, women in parts of the states where education levels are low, there is also a lack of empowerment, choice, women agency that women should have to regulate their fertility. They do not have. We need to change social norms around those issues, and we need to empower our women. And most importantly, we have a large young population. Young people are 360 million in India, and many of them are either at a reproductive age or who will be coming very soon into reproductive age. And they have the least access to family planning and temporary methods. We spend close to nothing. So if we really want to do something about population, we have to give access. It's not family planning they need access to contraception.
You touched upon the role that the youth can play. I want to talk about that. But first, audience, a better sense of the challenges that we're grappling with. Ms. Roy Chaudhary, talking about rapid urbanization that our country is witnessing and how it's impacting the health of our cities and our people, and which once again brings to the fore this balancing that needs to be done between development, population, and sustainability.
Absolutely. So, as part of the population growth, overall growth and development, growth of cities is inevitable. The moment people begin to shift from agricultural occupation to non-agricultural occupation, cities grow. Is city a bad word? No. It is how cities grow, how cities are planned and managed, that determines the impact, whether that is sustainable or is going to destroy us. Take Delhi, for instance. Close to half of the city's population is actually in unplanned, unauthorized areas. So it's a very small section of Delhiites who have access to the planned municipal services or any other planned activity. Urbanization is the way we are going to therefore plan for the water resource, for waste management, for mobility management, and the essential part of it is that while through planning we need to reduce the demand for resources, not increase.
Talking about unsustainable urbanization, Dr. Bhoj, how is that impacting rural areas in our country?
India is basically an agrarian society. In fact, till the time of independence, we were predominantly rural. But currently, I think there is rapid urbanization. And that urbanization is very much unplanned, because most of our cities are just growing, we can say organically, eating up the peri-urban or semi-urban this land. And that is putting a lot of pressure on our rural landscape. And there is an estimate that the whole India might face the food crisis. Of course, we are facing a kind of nutrition crisis with the use of agrochemicals in the agriculture, but we might also face the food crisis because of rapid urbanization.
The figures suggest the World Air Report 2020 ranking India the third on the global index when it comes to the worst air quality. Why are we unable to do enough to tackle this issue?
That's really one of the very scary story unfolding in India. Because when you say air pollution and the most polluted cities of the world are in India, just see how that translates into, and what we are most concerned about is health impact. So today we are talking about a scenario where large number of deaths and illness due to air pollution, and it's scary to read these numbers that the highest number of children below the age of 5 who are impacted by air pollution are in India. That is just not the children, but even the fetus in the mother's womb is affected by air pollution. What is more important to understand that for a long time, we did not pay much attention to the problem, and the whole attention was actually only in Delhi and NCR. But air pollution today is a national problem. We really have to understand where the solutions are and whether we are being able to build the support for the solution or not. And it's a big lesson in Delhi. Delhi has shut down all its coal power plants. You cannot burn coal, any dirty fuel in the city. Entire public transport on natural gas. Entire industries on natural gas. All vehicles been pushed out. With that, the pollution curve has begun to come down. And what Delhi has done is actually not small. No other city has done what Delhi has done. But, and that is the big but, Delhi still needs to reduce its pollution by yet another 60%. Unless we build public and political support for the solutions, then forget about it.
Ms. Sutresha, you earlier talked about the role that the youth can play. Unfortunately, the present generation has inherited these challenges. When it comes to better access to education, also better understanding of sustainable development at a very basic level, at the school level, what more do you think needs to be done? Is enough being done right now?
When you ask me the question, what more needs to be done, we've done very little. We've done very little in terms with our young people on education. Yes, India has made some progress for sure, but if you look at Bihar, 25% of the young people, especially girls, are not going to high school. So we have to invest much more in keeping our girls and boys, but girls in school, and not just till class 5 and 8. We've got to make education quality better. We've done very little on giving information to our young people in school about their health, their sexual reproductive health, about family planning, or especially if we want to change. I always assert, if we really want to see a change in the next 10 years, make a list of issues, invest in educating young people, making them aware, they will come out with the solutions, and there are enough solutions to share with them. The education has to move towards logically skill building. We have to create jobs for young people. I believe if we began to plan for them and invest in them, in 10 years, we'll see a very different India.
With that, it's a wrap on this discussion. Of course, as you heard from the experts, a lot of reasons for hope than for despair. On that optimistic note, I would like to thank all our panelists. Thank you very much for your perspectives and for your time. Thank you.
Right, I now thank our esteemed panel of guests for those fruitful insights, and of course my colleague Molly. It's time now for one of the key drivers of this unique initiative, a business leader and more importantly, an environmentalist and a crusader for sustainability. That's what we're talking about here today. The chairperson of the Mobius Foundation, Dr. Pradeep Burman. I would also now request Palki Sharma Upadhyay to join us on stage with, of course, Mr. Burman to discuss the vision and, of course, the journey of mission sustainability, population versus the planet.
Thank you, Priyanka, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure and honor to be in conversation with the man whose vision has been the driving force behind this mission, Mr. Pradeep Burman, Chairman of Mobius Foundation. Good afternoon, Mr. Burman.
Good afternoon.
We and the Mobius Foundation have been working together on this since February last year. What was your vision, what was your idea when you came up with the idea of mission sustainability, population versus planet, and why is this the issue that you chose among the very many issues that our world today grapples with?
There are very many issues on sustainability, but nobody talks about population. And I wanted to bring awareness to the general public is that population impacts all parts of sustainability. If you are talking about housing, if you're talking about agriculture, if you're talking about biodiversity, if you're talking about pollution, all this is related to the population, but nobody mentions it for some reason. So I thought that if the Mobius Foundation concentrates with WION only on population, then it would bring awareness amongst the people that we need to stabilize the population and what the effect of our population is having on all the other issues which are related to sustainability. The Mobius Foundation has another focus area, which is education. We haven't taken that up, but we are going independently on the education side, which I think is very important to reach the sustainable development goals.
Absolutely, and as we understood from the previous conversation, they're all in a way interrelated. So you touch one and then you gradually expand to others. But for the moment, if we focus only on population, and I have some data with me, it shows that there has been a constant decline in the growth of the population in India from 1980 to 2011. Are we then on the right track when it comes to population stabilization?
Well, it appears that we are on the right track because the total fertility rate has gone to 2.1, and we think that that's a stabilizing factor. However, we are not taking into account the fact that the medical science has also progressed, and then there'll be a lot older people that will continue. Instead of the average age being 60, it will go up to 70, and then it will go up to 75. So that is not taken into account when we talk about the total fertility rate of 2.0 or 2.1 at the moment. However, there's another point which is not taken into account, which is the population times the consumption. If the consumption rates are going up the way that they're going up, then it is not enough that we stabilize the population at a total fertility rate of 2.0, but we actually reduce it. One of the reasons is that population, whatever we do on population, has a gap of 60 years before any effect is seen. So it's not something which we will see today, but maybe 60 years from now, if we are successful in stabilizing the population.
How do we send out the message that in the long run, sustainability is going to be good politics and hence should be central to policy making?
I think the world is changing in that they are recognizing that unlimited growth and unlimited consumption is going to lead to disaster. And that is why we have brought out what is called the ESG, is the environment, sustainability, as well as governance to all companies that are doing. The other initiative which is being taken is by there are some equity investors which will invest only on green projects, so that they are encouraging that green initiatives be taken to sustain the planet. If we don't sustain it, then of course it's disaster for all of us, because we have only one planet, and we cannot look to go to Mars to survive. Think like Elon Musk and travel in space, but we have to come back to Earth. We cannot go up to Mars and survive over there. So that the world is realizing, but nations need to do something. Individuals are doing everything. The youth is doing everything. We are energizing the youth. Unless the big countries, like the three biggest countries, are polluters, or let's say carbon footprints, China, USA and India, if the three of us get together and create a policy of halving our carbon footprint, then maybe we'll see some change. Otherwise, we are not going to see some change. We're going to continue on this path until we end up in the sea.
My final question to you, Mr. Burman, would you like to share some of the achievements of the Mobius Foundation, something that you are proud of and you want to build on?
Our partnership with the UN has resulted in awareness about the sustainability issues and its relation to population, whether it is related to habitat, whether it's related to biodiversity, or whether it's related to pollution and a whole lot of other sustainable development goals, that it has brought awareness of the impact of our growing population and what is the damage that it is causing. So first thing, if people want to take action, is actually building awareness. And that, I think, is started, and it should continue, that we build a greater awareness on the thing. This is the first thing that we have achieved. Besides that, there are a couple of things which we are already doing. The Mobius Foundation itself has very successfully done a Project Akar. Project Akar is working in the rural areas to bring population stabilization in the high total fertility rates. Some of these rates in Barabanki as well as in Bharuch, and we are taking 3 more districts, is to counsel the newly married couples or young people and tell them to space their children. Plus, one of the big things is actually delivering the contraceptives in the rural areas to the women that want it. So we've done a lot on just 2 districts. There are, I think, maybe another 50 districts that we have to do with a total high fertility rate. in both in the UP as well as in Bihar. And these are the two areas we are going to work on. Besides that, we have on the education side, we have brought out one school in the rural areas, which is called the Gyananand Vidyalaya in Hapur district, where we are going to teach the children all about sustainability hands-on. The other prospects or projects which Mobius Foundation is taking up is called the World Environment School, as well as one residential school for girls. I think that's going to go on in Rishikesh. When that residential school comes up in about a year's time, it will make an impact on the whole region as well as on the girls' education. In Uttarakhand itself, we are planning another school which is going to be called the World Environment School. The World Environment School will be a showcase to build leaders in the climate change. I can't call it climate change anymore. I'll have to call it climate disasters, because that's where we are heading. So to prevent the climate disasters, what are the leadership of the people we turn out from the World Environment School will actually make an impact in the whole world and lead us towards a better world. That is what I do aim to do, is to leave the world in a better place than when I found it, and that should be the aim of all of us.
That's quite a list of achievements. I must congratulate you and also thank you for sharing your insights and for driving the change that you believe in. Your commitment to the cause, I must say, is really inspiring. Thank you very much, Mr. Burman.
We all must a little bit and do a little bit, and I'm doing what I can. I hope the others will take an example and do what they can too.
So we
Thank
hope.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Burman. Of course, Palki, for that fruitful discussion. It's very evident now that the habits need to change, and that is something that we need to start from tomorrow. And it is now time to take this discussion further and move on to the second session of Mission Sustainability, Population versus the Planet. I would now like to invite my colleague Molly Gambhir again on stage to take you through the next session.
Extreme weather events, increased deforestation, declining biodiversity, and polluted skies. Many of these ills can be traced back to an unsustainable population growth. Global leaders are moving forward to address the biggest climate issues. It is no secret that nations need to take unprecedented actions to cut their carbon emissions. It is a collective responsibility. Can we stop the irreversible damage from climate change? Does planet Earth stand a chance, or is it already too late? Let's hear what our panel of experts has to say.
7.9 billion of us are inhabiting this planet today, and the population continues to rise steadily. To sustain more people, you need more resources. It's a vicious cycle. But is there even a way out? Is it possible to balance population, people, our planet, development? That is going to be one of the many issues that we hope to touch upon in this second session of our conclave. It's my absolute pleasure to invite on stage Kartike Sarabhai, Director, Center for Environment Education. Shamla Mani, Senior Advisor, Public Health Foundation of India. And Shruti Sinha, Manager, Policy and Outreach, Chintan Environmental Research and Action Group. Ms. Sinha, if I can start with you. Simply put, there are too many of us on our planet, and our consumption and development patterns have been wreaking havoc for the longest time. But is it even possible to break out of these patterns and this fundamental challenge that we encounter when it comes to balancing growth, development, and our population?
Yes. I mean, we've been talking a lot about if we are already too late. We are late probably, but we can try to reverse damages. So my answer is that we cannot eliminate people. We can't, let people not enjoy the benefits of urbanization. But what we can do is understand that urbanization or benefits of urbanization doesn't have to be in contradiction to being environmentally friendly or climate conscious. So very simply put, I think what we need to change is our consumption patterns, our consumption economy, and our consumption culture, and the way we look at consumption. What we need to do is we have to go circular. What happens is when, for example, 72% of the waste currently is untreated and goes into the landfill, right? So, and out of that, about 55 to 60% is wet waste. So why not compost it? Why not segregate the waste and get into, we spoke about waste to wealth, so why not use it as a resource? Why not bring it into a circular culture? So, and that can prevent something like these. We've experienced 4 landfill fires now. So when extreme heat, which is again a consequence of climate change, comes together with mixed waste, you have these kind of fires. What it impacts is livelihoods. It impacts just air pollution, toxic fumes. So it's all interconnected and interlinked, and that is what we need to democratize as knowledge, that climate change is not an elite issue. It's very much connected to frontline communities and livelihoods, incomes, lives. So I think those interlinkages need to be made.
I'm glad you touched upon the very complex challenge of waste management. It's been talked about for the longest time, and we are aware that it needs to be done. But actually making it happen on an individual level, on a household level, why is it a challenge at this point? And what are we doing wrong, and how can we correct that?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, I personally feel that there has been a lack of implementation, although the rules have been there for quite some time. In fact, the whole experimentation of whether it can be done was done in the, before this century started.